Astronomers have recently discovered a large cloud of gas, in which many new stars are being formed, not far from our own solar system. While it would seem surprising that this phenomenon hadn't been previously noticed, the researchers explained that recent innovations in measuring the distance of gas clouds more accurately led to this discovery after older observations were reinterpreted. Project management is an area of growing importance across many fields, from engineering and information technology through to education and marketing. Therefore, if you study this exciting subject, you will be opening the doors to a career with plenty of variety and excellent opportunities. In many countries, learning a foreign language has been introduced as part of primary school education. One reason for this is the common idea that children are naturally better language learners than adults. Another is that nowadays, it's important to make children interested in other cultures. Students write far less by hand today than they used to in the past. Many universities allow the use of laptops instead of pen and paper in lectures. However, it seems using them does not always help the learning process. Some research shows that most students remember information better when they write notes by hand. A research study has concluded that physiological measurements taken from wearable device sensors might actually be able to indicate abnormal fluctuations relating to infections. It is also thought that this continuous surveillance of an individual's health may aid the prevention and containment of strains of influenza. Building the emotional strength and independence of learners is believed to be as important as the knowledge gained in traditional lessons. While not wanting to create an additional subject on the curriculum, teachers are considering how to enable students to develop teamwork and leadership skills. Activities outside the classroom are thought to be essential to achieving this aim. The worldwide effort to cut global carbon emissions is gaining momentum, infiltrating all aspects of industry, including the growth in electric cars and environmental goods and services. This move towards building more sustainable economies encourages investment and creates job opportunities. As a result, many countries have crossed the threshold into a new industrial era. Statistics is the practice of collecting and analyzing data. It involves taking a sample from a small fraction of a wider population. The information gained from the sample allows conclusions to be drawn about the population as a whole without having to gather data on a larger scale.
The rules of geography often determine how a country develops. Countries with a mountainous border have, as a general rule, been much safer than ones with borders that spread over vast flat lands. At some point, the size of a country becomes problematic, as long supply chains can become unsustainable over time. The development of football as a formal, organized sport was hampered by a dispute between Scottish clubs, who wanted to professionalize football, and English clubs, arguing to keep it amateur. Matches between the two countries were prohibited, but this quickly led to a shortage of competitive games. Eventually, England caved in, clearing the way for a professional domestic league. In many schools, pupils aren't allowed to use their phones during lessons. After all, when pupils spend too much time checking their phones, it prevents them from giving their full attention to the lesson. However, the educational possibilities of technology shouldn't be forgotten, because smartphones offer access to a wide range of learning activities. Surely balance is the key. Spending time in nature can improve physical and mental health. An activity known as the forest bath takes this belief one step further. The basic idea is that, to get the maximum benefit from nature, it's important to focus on the smells, sounds, and general feel of the environment. Therefore, forest baths involve far more than a simple walk outside. When governments do not or cannot provide the financial support needed to improve the country's hospitals and schools, citizens themselves may decide to raise the necessary funds through community events. The hard work of individuals can help bring essential services to local communities, but such projects should be in addition to, not instead of government spending. Selecting the right degree is an important decision, and it's natural to consider how particular subjects affect future career opportunities. While business courses are obviously popular choices, creative subjects like literature or philosophy can be just as useful. Such courses encourage creative thinking skills, and companies value employees who can solve problems by looking at issues from different sides.
This research study investigates the effects of different types of music on wild monkeys. The aim of the study is to examine changes in monkey behavior when exposed to music, particularly in terms of social interaction levels. This paper reports several findings and identifies potential applications for the animal conservation sector. As a new student at the university, you will receive a campus card when you enroll. It is important that you always carry this card with you when you are on the campus because it is proof of your identity. You will also need it to borrow books from the library, access certain buildings, and pay for items in the cafeteria. It makes sense for experts in a subject to work together in the same place. Universities are therefore organized into various departments. However, global problems are often extremely complicated, and specialists from different areas should work together to solve them. In this article, it is argued that economists and scientists benefit if they combine their skills on shared research projects.
Traditionally, scientific research has been undertaken by universities, government laboratories, or companies in their research and development departments. Recently, however, professional scientists have sometimes asked ordinary members of the public to help them, especially when they need to collect a huge amount of data and cannot manage to do this on their own. Such activity is known as citizen science. This report provides an overview of consumer trends in global agricultural markets. It is subdivided into chapters covering the arable, dairy, and meat market sectors. For each sector, the drivers underlying consumer trends are analyzed. The most notable of these are the increasing demand for organic products and heightened public concern regarding environmental issues such as food system emissions. Your thesis must be formatted and bound correctly before submission for assessment, and this guidance document specifies how this should be done. It is extremely important that these stipulations are accurately followed. Failure to do so will result in the thesis being returned to you for amendment. You will only be eligible to graduate once these conditions are met.
Artificial intelligence has advanced dramatically as a field of study since the early days of slow and cumbersome computers. It can now be regarded as a mature discipline. Unsurprisingly, many authors have aspired to produce the standard textbook on the subject. Here, we review a worthy contender for that title whose second edition has just been published. The purpose of this paper is to make company owners and managers aware of the impact of accounting software on business performance. Crucial to any company's success is the availability of the very latest accurate accounting information. Dealing with the challenging nature of market uncertainty and the tendency towards increased economic globalization places new demands on accounting information systems. Some people believe that we can never really be sure if something is true. They say that we make or invent knowledge instead of discovering it. As a result, nobody can ever be certain of anything. It's all just someone's opinion. You may sometimes notice a particular speech pattern where the speaker's voice rises at the end of a sentence. The rise occurs even when it is unnecessary. The speaker, therefore, sounds as if they are asking a question. As a result, they often sound less confident in what they're saying. Proponents of hypnosis promote it as being a heightened state of consciousness in which the subject is more susceptible to suggestions. This mental state may enable the subject to more effectively work through something that is holding them back. Whether or not it actually works is a topic that is hotly debated. If you need to locate a title in the university library, start by accessing the library's directory. This can be done from any computer that's connected to the university's server. You can search for the title's name, author or publication date. Details of the title's code and directions to its location will then appear. It has been known for some time that working in a complex environment can sharpen certain mental abilities. One of the most well-known examples is that of London taxi drivers, who have to memorize the layout of a vast city and consequently show an enlarged hippocampus, an area of the brain involved in navigation and spatial memory. A more recent study has attempted to ascertain which factors are generally important in the development of navigational skills. Subjects were asked to complete a task embedded in a computer game which involved memorizing a map and then steering a boat using this mental picture. A number of factors were significant, but one of the most interesting outcomes was that there were differences between those who lived in a rural environment and their town-dwelling counterparts. Country dwellers showed significantly better navigational skills, presumably because town dwellers just come to rely on street names and numbers, and so these skills are less activated. Moreover, it appears that the type of city can also make a difference. Subjects from cities with a more organic, less predictable topography performed better than those from the kind of grid-based cities that are common in North America, such as Chicago. There may be a useful maxim for urban planners here, that there can be such a thing as too much simplicity when it comes to city design. Shared space refers to an approach to street design in which traffic signs and curbs are removed so that the normal separation between different road users no longer exists. Pedestrians, cyclists, and drivers all share the same space and negotiate their movements with each other. It was first introduced in Friesland in the Netherlands, and works on the principle that if regulation is reduced, people will take personal responsibility, reducing their speed and relying on eye contact with other road users. It has been tried out in other cities in Europe and in Auckland, New Zealand, and some impressive claims have been made for it, namely that it has reduced traffic speed more successfully than other measures and reduced or eliminated accidents. However, if this is the case, one cannot help wondering why it has not been introduced in all the world's major cities. Is it perhaps something that only works with low volumes of traffic or only in particular cultures? The fact is that even the most impressive statistics are not necessarily proof that it works. It may be, for example, that both pedestrians and motorists consciously avoid places where there are no rules, and the decline in the number of accidents is due more to this. Opinion surveys rarely show that people are in favor of them, and the organizations which have come out strongly against are those representing the disabled, or, not surprisingly, the blind. There may be a role for shared space in some specific areas of particular cities, but on the whole, road safety cannot simply be left to people's native courtesy or personal judgment.
The water we use is not as clean as we might think. High levels of micropollution have been found in some of our water sources, reducing the safety and quality of our drinking water. The type of pollution found combines different pollutants and has a variety of long-standing effects on the water. The purity of the water may also be negatively affected by unexpected pollution events, such as natural disasters or industrial accidents. Furthermore, there are also often problems concerning the distribution of drinking water from our water sources to places where water is consumed, such as our homes. Water can become polluted during its journey. For these reasons, water often needs to be purified before it can be consumed. This may happen at source, or nearer to consumption. In some countries, it has been difficult to integrate technology to help the overall process due to financial and logistical challenges. Traditional waterworks and companies need cheaper, smart technology and more automated processes, without the need for human control. Brand new waterworks must be of a cutting-edge design to allow for producing the standard of water we need to drink. Furthermore, to enable water to remain clean while it is being distributed, the delivery of water needs to be constantly monitored.
In the UK, as in many other countries around the world, there is an affordability crisis in housing. Young people feel the brunt of this. They are priced out of many areas because both owner-occupied and private rental housing are unaffordable. This trend has translated into a rise in the residential separation of older and younger adults. Many areas are predominantly composed of residents from a single generation. Given that people's housing requirements change as they move through different stages of their life, for example, couples wishing to have more space when they have children, and that certain types of housing are generally grouped together, perhaps this current trend is expected. However, this increasing age segregation can be concerning if it stems from young people being unable to afford the housing they need. This spatial separation of generations impedes possibilities for interaction between older and younger generations, which has ramifications for policy on social cohesion and the organization of society. In addition to the associated loss of cross-age interactions outside the family, there is likely to be competition between age groups for limited public resources to fund the services and institutions demanded by their associated age-specific needs.
For instance, a district largely comprised of young couples with children would have greater overcrowding in schools, and one full of mostly elderly residents may have greater demands on healthcare. Hence, what might at first glance appear to be a crisis in housing may lead to multiple consequences for society unless it is effectively and promptly addressed. Research indicates a detectable increase in several wild animal species, including boars, deer, and bears, in certain parts of Asia. A plausible answer for this lies rooted in human demography and is particularly visible in rural areas where the population has decreased. As a direct consequence, there now appears to be a correlation between a sharp decline in numbers of human inhabitants and the rise in the size of wild animal populations. With the human population dwindling steadily in rural areas, more animal sightings are being reported. Whereas in the past both brown and black bears have been elusive and difficult to spot, the number of bear sightings in countries such as Japan, amongst others, have witnessed a marked increase with approximately 13,000 sightings in 2018. Most of the actual witnesses who have reported bear activities tend to be tourists, with local residents offering fewer accounts of bear sightings. However, it remains clear that any sudden increases in sightings usually occur in places where the human population is falling fastest.
Experts say we are now experiencing a fourth industrial revolution, also known as 4-ear. The fourth revolution differs significantly from the third in the fact that it has revolutionized many of our previous norms and has changed the way many of us now function day to day. It is developing at a more rapid pace than other revolutions and has dramatically altered our economy. One such example is in the workplace, where artificial intelligence, or AI, is now often used in place of humans, equating to a faster pace of work which is often done to a higher standard. As well as the economy, it has changed the healthcare system by reducing human error, and using advanced technologies to predict conditions or illnesses, lengthening many people's lives. However, the revolution has not come without its downsides. By using robotics or automated systems, companies may be required to cut their workforce, leading to higher unemployment levels worldwide. Many people would have to retrain in order to enter a new sector, which again may be harmed by the continual and rapid development of technology. We could all experience a severe lack of privacy, and unconsciously allow access to our data which may, one day, be used against us in a detrimental way. Although technology is developed by humans, what happens when the devices become more intelligent than us?
Advances in neurotechnology have opened up a brave new world of influencing and extracting information from our brains. Research into the human brain has demonstrated that observation and data collection can lead to the very real possibility of modifying or changing activity in the mind. These advances could potentially lead to new medical treatments and a deeper understanding of human behavior, emotions, and feelings. However, this raises a new, and urgent, question about our human rights. Do we need legal protection to prevent our brains from being manipulated? We know from decades of social research that moods and emotions can be transmitted between people. More recently, we have discovered that human brain activity can be shaped by which posts appear in social media feeds, for instance, by including negative or positive language, images, or messages. People seeing more negative information, when their social networks are controlled in this way, go on to use more gloomy and pessimistic language themselves, and show signs of long-lasting psychological effects. Therefore, while human rights currently exist to protect people from physical harm, a need is emerging to safeguard our mental privacy and prevent cognitive influencing by others to achieve political, social, or economic objectives. Some might argue that our brain activity being manipulated is hardly a new phenomenon.
All of these can alter our state of mind, and influence cognitive processes, such as memory, perception, attention, and the ability to reason. However, such mind alterations are nearly impossible to measure accurately and are worlds away from the targeted cognitive manipulation increasingly possible due to technological development. It is many people's dream to go to a beautiful island on holiday. However, islands are usually quite small and many of them are unable to deal with the number of tourists that visit them. Islands are usually most beautiful when few people know about them. As soon as they appear in a newspaper article or on a TV program, they are likely to have many more visitors. While many locals welcome the money that tourists bring to the economy, tourism can have a negative effect on the environment of a small island. They cause pollution on land and in the sea. Some governments have decided to close particular islands so that they can recover. However, when these islands open again, they still have the problem of too many tourists. Countries need to find a different solution. Perhaps they should only allow a small number to visit. This is what the Galapagos Islands have done. Only small groups are allowed to visit certain sites and they must travel with an experienced guide. They can only stay in places for a short period of time. This helps to protect the wildlife on the island and in the sea around the island.
A library has always been a place to go to read books and learn about the world. You can usually find libraries in town centers, but there are also mobile libraries that visit communities in the countryside. This is the traditional idea of libraries anyway. However, these days, like many things, libraries are changing. As the internet becomes a bigger part of people's lives, libraries are also going online. This may be hard for some people to accept, but for many it is an exciting development. As libraries go online, it means that more information is available to the whole world for the first time. This means that people don't have to be in a specific place to read a book. They could be anywhere. However, there are still many library buildings in towns and cities, but these are also changing. People still go to them to borrow books, but technology is becoming more important. Libraries provide computers for people to use, and this gives more opportunities to people who don't have their own computer. These libraries now lend electronic books as well as paper books. Libraries still provide a space where communities can meet. They also have educational events and offer advice and local information. Many have activities for young children to encourage reading from an early age as well.